No, I mean there is. If music is something that you don't care about, it's probably not the right place for you. We do not have unless you want to join the music team actually. But if you want as a developer, it's not required. The thing is, if you don't play any instrument, there is no way around it. You will actually pretty much be forced. First of all, because everyone else does, and you will end up holding a thing every once in a while. Sometimes you also make everyone try something out. And the last thing is, if you don't know how to play the guitar, you're a very welcome guinea pig to try out. So it's just like, hey, can you do this? No, I can't. Okay, we want to find out. But no, I think it's not a requirement for most of the positions. And it doesn't have to be guitar. So we are looking into other instruments as well, and also for these jam sessions and so on, like bring along whatever noise-making device you have. It would be cool to have a tuba or an alphorn.
That's the best way.
All right, so I asked from Joaquin this, since it's a developer crowd, I thought we want to have some bit more rock music. You can play with any guitar, so you plug it in. You can also use an acoustic. It uses the built-in microphone, but in this case we have now something that has a bit more groove. Good.
Yeah. So just quickly about the product. The target audience is anyone who wants to learn to play the guitar, or anyone who has already some skills. So literally, if you've never even seen a guitar, you can start with the app, because it will start with exercises where you just pluck in one string, but it will make that a cool experience because of the background music, because of the visuals, because of the gamified elements there. And yeah, even a guy like me who's played the guitar for most of my life, really, can find challenging levels from here. I cannot complete the whole game yet. I have created a monster. Alright, so the curriculum is divided into two paths. I don't see my mouse anymore. Well, there it is. So it has this friendly word start here, so that you know where to start from. And then after you've gone through the basics, just understanding what is a string and what is a fret and how do you manipulate this instrument, then the path divides into two. So you get the lead guitar path, where you'll be playing melodies and slightly going towards playing the solos, and then you have the rhythm guitar path, where you learn riffs and chords and strumming. And we have this system of levels. So level 0 is a beginner, then we have content from 1 to 5, which is the basic, and 6 to 10, which is intermediate level, and then level 15 is like virtuoso Steve Vai. All right, and the game mode, well, I'm gonna show it now with a rock song. So we have created original songs which serve best, in our opinion, the purpose of learning, because they are made in styles that remind like known famous songs, but they are shorter, because the thing is that when you play real songs, they can be quite long and repetitive and boring a bit even, and they're not always like made for beginner guitarists, or they don't compose the songs with education in mind, but that's exactly what we do. So here's a song for riffing. Let's see if I can complete this. It's pretty demanding on the down picking skills. Oh, I lost audio. I didn't. I died. Okay. So, you see, if you don't play anything,
try, shall we?
I'm gonna try this again as soon as I get my guitar amp working. Alright, bad boy. Yes. Okay, so in the end you get this results that how well did you do. I didn't do that well now, but I've played it before. So this exercise is mostly about power chords and down picking. And it's like the genre is something like new wave of British heavy metal. if there comes a difficult passage. Something, yeah. So if there's something difficult coming, why is this not responding?
Siinä lukee Yousician kauetta alapäässä.
What?
13 ja...
I'm sure you could do better.
Yeah,
Eikö se tuu ääntä
I'm sure too. Yeah, there's some layer up here.
Door went
Anyways.
downstairs went shut.
Yeah, anyway, maybe you got the idea. Let's see if
Yeah.
So as you see, if I don't play anything, I'm gonna die pretty fast on this level. This is like level 10. It's the
Try slowing down the tempo in practice mode.
exactly what I was trying to do
Yeah,
now.
okay.
Click it now, let's see.
It should be behind the door. Just 10 press the button and if it works then...
Right. Okay.
So the idea is there is a practicing mode as well where you don't die. You can slow down the songs to 25% of the speed. You can also speed it up.
No, we can
Like for
just...
someone like me where it's almost boring to play this, you can go to 125%.
Oh yeah. You wanna show?
Yeah, I can picture my hand. So there is this, you can do all kinds of things. You can have a looper. I mean, this kind of the practicers, I mean, you practice a certain riff to the end, it just loops it, and if you do well enough, if you get 90% right, it automatically speeds up. Which means you can really spend like half an hour just practicing the same riff at 25% and 35% and speeding up like this.
Yeah.
I mean, we have plenty of time to try it out afterwards somewhere in the office if you want to. You don't have to try these hard levels. There is all kinds of tricky things as well.
But there's also the weekly challenge if you want to compete with the rest of the world. So every week we create a theme, or we create 2 new songs based on a theme. Like this week it's this Vivaldi concertos, which are made into this like Imi Malmsten style. It's created by Oates there, and he's made these orchestral backgrounds, so it sounds really awesome. And then you can shred all those licks, and you also have easier parts for that. So there's really like the whole world is competing there. We have I don't know how many tens of thousands of people per week playing those. And it's really cool to try to beat the best guitarists there. I can't. They're really good. All right.
All right.
But that's all I had.
Okay, thanks, Audrey. Leah, do you want to take the clock? This is the presentation.
6:12.
I downloaded for you a biggest 10 minutes character.
You can put it here so it's Sakari sees
That's it's like a TED talk.
Only better.
Not as cheesy.
Seems there's something wrong with this spot, so all the Macs go crazy.
Isn't that where this
Just resizing the
container?
They'll refresh.
Let's resize the window first.
Come on.
There is a play button as well.
Yeah, now it came visible. Okay. So, yeah, my name is Sakari. I'm a DSP developer here at Yousician. And is someone going to start the clock? Yeah. And I'm going to talk about Unity native plugins and how we use them there, use them here, and some tips and tricks. First, I'd like to ask everyone who has been developing and using native plugins in Unity. Okay, so the minority, so I'll do the presentation like that. So, when would you want to use a native plugin? There's basically the biggest reason would be if you want to have access to some platform APIs that aren't available in Unity, or then some existing cross-platform libraries, or just any library that's already there, which you would like to use. and also if you want to have performance gains. So for example, in our latest Android release, we're using this FFT library that does a Fourier transform, signal processing thing, but it's like several orders of magnitude faster than if you'd be doing the same stuff in C#. Then the other reason for us is our own DSP code, which is performance critical. So one thing in C# development is that all array access is bounds checked. So if you're going through lots of data in arrays, which would be like audio signals in our case, you're going to get lots of overhead from there. C++ compilers, in general, they're really good at optimizing code. It's going to do a much better job than the C# compiler does. And if you want to go even deeper, you can use these single instruction multiple data vector operations. So either the compiler can do it for you, or then you can write your own assembly code to really get the last bits of performance out of the hardware. So how do you do it then? The first thing is you develop a library which you want to use. So we've been using mostly C++ for the DSP stuff, and then on iOS we have some Objective-C. So for example, getting audio properties from the platform, like what stuff is plugged into it. Are we using a headset or are we just playing back from the speaker? You can get that kind of information. Then you build a library from it. So on OS X, you're going to have a bundle file, Windows a DLL, Android and Linux use a shared object file. And on iOS, it's statically linked, so you have just an archive. Then you have to write a C# wrapper for the code. So you just basically declare your functions you're calling as with this DLL import property, attribute. And if you're using Objective-C or C#, you probably want to write a C API for the functionality, because you can't use C++ directly. Then you do whatever you want with the plugin once you have that done. So what we do for native code development is we use Xcode for writing all the code. So we can build OS X builds and iOS builds directly from Xcode, and then put these into the Unity project and use them. I've also integrated NTK build for building native Android libraries. And then for Windows and Linux, I have a separate CMake script that then builds the project. So I don't really do any development on those platforms, I just build. So Visual Studio for Windows, and then just pure make on Linux. Then debugging and profiling. The best way if you want to really debug your code is to run Unity Editor on OS X, and you can actually attach Xcode to the editor and step through your plugin code, put breakpoints and so on, normal debugging. And then you can actually even use callbacks to implement Unity logging, in which case you can see your messages from native code in the Unity editor or Xcode, and also on Android from ADB. And the same thing for the profiler. You can actually profile your native code using the Unity profiler. And I'm going to go quickly through that, how that's done. So, there's lots of boilerplate. It's actually, in the end, it's quite simple. But you need to have all this stuff here. So, first you have to declare a delegate type that has a C calling convention. Then you make the actual function or method you want to call, and that has to again have this attribute mono p invoke callback and the type of the delegate. And then here I'm just calling debug.log, and then I assign the log method into the delegate type, and then this one is the function that's actually in the native library. So here you can see the DLL import attribute. You get like your library name, put it there, and then it's going to take a function pointer. And again, you need attributes, how to marshal it. So you can marshal a function pointer. And when you want to actually enable this logging, you're going to first call this get function pointer from delegate to the delegate you have here, and then call the native function with the function pointer. So the main point here is that it's possible, but it just requires a bit of boilerplate. And then on the native side, it's really simple. You can just have a function pointer. I recommend putting a type def for it, so it's easy. And then this function is going to get called. So you get the function pointer in, and once you have that, you can just call those functions from your native side and get profiling data into the profiler or logging data into the Unity logs. Then some other tips. The way I like to develop is I have C++ classes on the native side and then a C# wrapper on the C# side. So I just keep a handle, which is on the C# side, it's a unsigned integer pointer, and on C++ side, just a pointer. And I can pass this back and forth as like the first parameter in all the functions. And then I just map directly the C# classes to the C++ classes. And that makes it really easy to, you can allocate the object on the C++ side and then just cast between the pointers and delete it when you're done. And normally I don't like macros, but in this case I've found them to be extremely handy. So for example, if you write C++, you're going to have the C API to be able to call the pure C functions. And there's a couple of places where I really recommend using macros. And then another thing we do a lot is we operate on arrays of data, mostly just floating point signals. And there you can't pass just a part of it, but you have to have the offset into the array and the amount of data you have in the array. And there it's been really handy. Yeah, that was just a quick overview on what we do and how we use them.
What kind of stuff do you outsource into native code? Is it like isolated algorithms or bigger entities?
Mostly they're isolated algorithms, but it could be like a kind of like a bigger algorithm. I mean, there's a clear thing we do, but it might not be just like one method. There might be like a class that implements a certain complex algorithm, and then that class gets wrapped. Or then we have like this vector API if we just want to like multiply like element by element, like also just lower level functions like that. So both. Any other questions? Yeah.
If you have multiple threads on the C++ side, how do you get to call C# code, especially in the case of Unity?
Yes, it's a good question. On some platforms, there's also this send Unity message. At least it works on Android and iOS, so you can like dispatch stuff back onto the main thread in Unity. That's something I didn't cover here. But if you use those raw callbacks, then I have to say I'm not sure. They work at least if you're doing it in the main thread. But it might be that you will run into some issues if you do it from some other thread.
We basically solved it by having like a message queue in the C++ side, and it was actually the C# code from Unity that went and checked if it has any messages. And
Yeah, that's definitely
that's
one way.
one way to do it, but I thought maybe you had like something more clever to
No. And for the cases where we've needed, it has been on Android and iOS, and there it's already built into Unity. You can call this. It's a bit limited. You can only pass a string as a message, but it's been good enough for us.
Do you think the IL2 CPP is going to make this process any better or easier?
I don't think so. As much as I've read about it, they're basically just keeping the same functionality for now. It might be, of course, in the future, but so far it seems that it doesn't really expand any new possibilities. It's mostly just enabling 64 bits on iOS and getting better performance. My time is up, so if there are no more questions, that was it. Thank you.
So did you have any more?
No.
Okay.
Everyone needs something to drink, or should we get around?
You want to get around? Or do we just finish my 10 minutes flame? Then let's hope that it doesn't break. So, hello, I'm Kalle Serkesov from Epicode. I used to work for this company called Exit Games. They do this thing called Photon Cloud. It's a multiplayer as a service platform, so I'm mostly going to go through that instead of my own work. I'm also the organizer of Unity Meetup with Tuomas, and so if you're interested in sponsoring us or anything else related to these meetups, please contact me. So my company does big data, and I'm there doing big data expert stuff. But mostly I'm here to talk about this big possibilities of how you do multiplayer as a service or multiplayer in your games in Unity. Unity 5.x, it's X because it's still in alpha, the new networking thing. It's going to change a lot of things. Like I checked out the new alpha version videos and stuff that they are doing correctly. Instead of having problem with not punching, not is the one thing that keeps us from losing control over internet at the moment. You can actually do it now with Unity networking. So basically that means that you can do multiplayer games in Unity 5.x with Unity framework. Before this they had their own networking tools, but they kind of sucked. You basically lost all capability if you didn't have your master server crashed, it was horrible, trust me. I saw multiple games crashing and they were thinking why does it work in local but not in wide area network? Well, it doesn't work in the internet if you don't do certain things, and those certain things weren't done correctly. Now they are done correctly in the new version. They're also going to release hosted services, so that's going to be nice. And all of these functionalities have already been done by other companies, such as Exit Games, which has a native plugin and own servers that you can host. That's most people don't know it. And they have their own SDK that you can install. And basically the syntax will be quite close to the same as the new Unity syntax and the previous Unity syntax. They have a tool that you can use to create your network games. So basically what I want to talk about is about that you should do networking yourself. Like, don't do UDP or any kind of networking yourself. Use already existing services if you're a company that doesn't have money. Or even if you have money, but you don't have people to do it. Because it's pain in the ass to see these great games and then you just view your basic network traffic and you are seeing all the packets flowing and you can hack everything like with 5 seconds. And it's horrible. Like hacking someone's reader ports and stuff like that without even hacking. It's that easy in most games. If people are trusting that they can do it and then they implement it badly. Instead of implementing it badly, please use some service that actually does it correctly. HTTP traffic is quite easy to make secret now. You can use post calls and HTTPS. So, okay, I can accept you doing your own server side if you are storing data, but doing networking as multiplayer and doing it yourself is kind of old-fashioned now. It's getting old and really fast. So I listed here like the top few companies that do IaaS, PaaS, your infrastructures, your platforms, your softwares. So you can basically pick and choose what you want to do. So at least don't self-host your servers. Like I'm currently working on a case where I have to route my IP to one place and my Windows machine already said no. So now I'm going to the Linux machine and trying to make it work. And that's the kind of issues you meet up if you are hosting yourself. And you need to know what you are actually doing. And that means you need more people to do operations. And let's face it, you don't want 20 people doing operations. You want 20 people coding your game or doing graphics or music or something that actually makes the game work well. If you can buy it from Amazon or you can buy it from Azure, you can buy it from multiple services that do it correctly. So I made this list of ready, steady, go, why you shouldn't do it yourself. So you have time or people. You don't usually. If you have time or people, I want to work for you because that means I can do something else than network coding.
Take a...
Yep. You know what NAT punching means. That's quite important in nowadays internet. You know Linux and Windows servers so well that you basically live with them. And you know IPv4 and IPv6. You are required to know IPv6 now. So you have to know how the traffic goes and what the security issues are and how you are doing that. And then C and C++, that's minimum requirement. You have to know those. If you are typing backend code in C#, you're just typing something that isn't going to work in your game as optimally as you need it to work. Every single multiplayer as a service provider will give you C and C++ core. Like Exit Games has a C# interface for you to work, but it works below it in C and C++. You won't be working with C# in below the surface. So, and then you need to know databases. That's the amount of work there is. And then I kind of didn't have time to make slides more. I was supposed to do slides at that moment, but my stuff crashed. I have a GitHub project that I'm working on, which will make it easier for you to do that data collection, like user management and stuff like that. I already implemented Facebook login there, and it's getting bit by bit growing. And you should really, if you have networking problems, do come to talk to me. I can help you connect to the correct people and help you look at what you want to do. I'm quite available at the evenings. Well, actually not, but anyways. I usually have time to answer people's mail. And yeah, I guess that's my presentation. Do you have questions? Because I think you have none whatsoever. No one wants to go against me and say that yes, I want to code my UDP myself.
So what would you lose if you?
If I would use Unreal, I would use Unreal stuff at the moment, probably. Expect if I want to host the game servers and do game logic myself in somewhere that I can manage, then I would switch to Photon or Exit Games, because I can get their server and automate those myself. And then I would have to have operations people, but I wouldn't have to code the C and C++ thing at least. I could use the framework. And if I would use Unity at the moment, Photon. No, nothing else really comes even close. And Photon 5. Unity 5.x will come something that I would use later on, when I know what Unity is pricing it. Because it's going to cost something, and you don't know what it's costing for you to have concurrent players. I should probably have explained that. So concurrent players means players at the same time online. So that's how multiplayer as a service is usually priced. That means that if you have 5 players during a day, you won't be paying more than 1 CCU, probably. If you have, yes. Yeah, well,
Continue.
if you have 50,000 players, but 100 play at the same time only, you're paying for 100 concurrent users.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you use for profile management?
Profile management. So what?
So you use the profiles online.
So basically, that's where you have to use something that either you use stuff that I make.
And I was
Yeah.
immediately curious about
Yeah,
that.
it's currently under progress when I have time, so it's not that fast. But I usually make it faster if somebody says that I'm going to use it. At that point, it gets like this spike up. And it gets the feature that someone requires until it's getting late again.
Do you know anything about Zoomla?
Yes, Zoomla is the service that provides you.
In-app purchases,
yeah.
store.
And there's like bars you can use that. It has quite nice.
It is also like Zoomla also has profile. I haven't.
Yeah,
gotten around
and
to
Ray, how do I say it? Because there are multiple services like that also. So I'm just coding that for fun.
As far as I understand, Zoomla doesn't have like a backend service. So,
It might not. So
it requires something else to go.
basically, if you're using Photon, they have this partner. Frick. Because I've been just checking Photon server last time, so. Here, Grave app, which gives you the profiles. Yes.
Okay.
So
Is
that's.
that with the same licensing as Photon or?
And they go. I'm not quite sure. They added that when I left the company because I moved back to Finland a few. Oh, I have time. I'm time out, so we have to continue this later. But basically, they are working on it, some kind of pricing. So let's see. I would believe it's the same pricing, but it's not in Photon pricing. It's in Brave App pricing. They get some kind of portion from the.
So we'll continue later. I mean,
Yeah, let's continue so people can get to eat.
Yeah.
And I get to do work.
One quick question. You had the comparison between the service providers.
That was the startup time of the deployment of VMs that I found in Google when I was trying to find this nice picture with all of their logos.
Yeah.
I couldn't find one, so I just took some benchmarking picture. You can shut that down.